Hi, we have some really big astrological aspects coming up. We have a new moon and a solar eclipse coming up on this coming Tuesday here in San Francisco. It is around 5, almost 6 o'clock p.m., 5:54 p.m. Pacific time. It is not only a new moon, but it is all and a solar eclipse, but it's also the beginning of it's the celebration of Shivaratri, the big celebration of for Shiva, the Hindu god, the destroyer, or the great recycler, as some people like to think of him as. That's actually very appropriate because we have, I mean, we have some really we have a we have a hell of a lineup here in terms of the aspects for this coming new moon and solar eclipse. Solar eclipses are already intense. And we already also have some really intense aspects going on. Now, many of you may be wondering just what is going on in the world with like the insane political environment that we're dealing with. And just the general sense of like, what is going on here? And that is due to a what's called a Tsquare in the mutable signs of Pisces, Sagittarius, and Virgo. So the planets involved are Jupiter, which exaggerates things. No matter what it is, it makes things bigger. And Neptune in Pisces, which likes to be in Pisces, but which is oh, not necessarily exactly trustworthy. It can be full of delusion and illusion and illusion and wanting to believe what you want to believe, a dreamy kind of never land. Rose-colored glasses and, yes, I believe the liars because they're telling me what I want to hear. And then Saturn, which is a worrisome planet. That is the planet of discipline, responsibility, and life lessons and rules. So right now, the rules are all up in the air, as we see with the elections. Nobody wants to do things the way that it has been done. Nobody trusts people who have who have played by the rules. We want the liars. We want we want the charismatic. The charismatic charlatans, the people who can like spin us the tale that we want to hear. And actually, as has been pointed out by others, Donald Trump is a Gemini who just happens to fit into this Tsquare as the fourth of the mutable sign. So he fits right in there perfectly. Anyhow, so we have a dynamic whereby everything's up in the air. You don't know what to believe. Nobody wants to believe nobody wants to play by the rules. And that's also once Jupiter moves out of Virgo, which won't happen until the fall. Then people get a little bit more serious. Then you have a little bit more, okay, so what really makes sense? Which gives us some hope for the actual elections, which aren't until November. However, this is looking longer range. Right now, we have a whole conglomeration of planets in Neptune, in Pisces, and that's where the sun and the moon are, in exact opposition to Jupiter in Virgo, and squaring Saturn in Sagittarius. So this is like a super whammy. Some people say also that that these aspects often show people who do financial forecasting say that the Jupiter aspects almost always show reversals in the market. But I think if you just think of reversals anyhow in terms of what one would expect, there's this kind of tendency to exaggerate to believe what one wants to believe, to exaggerate the the qualities that to have exaggerated qualities on display, actually. And I will show a picture now, or perhaps before also, of what the chart looks like for this period of time. I won't talk during it, I'll insert it in. But you'll see that there's a whole group of planets over on one side of the chart, and those are all those planets in the dreamy, unrealistic, sometimes liar, sometimes spiritual side of over in Pisces. Here in San Francisco, it's an area at the time of the eclipse, solar eclipse, and new moon. It emphasizes, relationships versus the self, but really everywhere the quality of needing something to be larger than life. And kind of maybe also falling into either what you really want to believe, or not being able to deal with issues of restriction or of the rules. The whole notion of accepting restriction or having resistance to an established path versus having to kind of struggle for non-resistance. And this is especially true in issues of anything that involves idealism, art, or spirituality. Now, in spirituality is particularly important because there too there's a quality of kind of either wanting to get lost in some kind of mystical other world, not being able to connect to that mystical other world, feeling betrayed and abandoned by God, feeling like the rules don't count or don't matter. We can all be struggling with the notion of betrayal versus inspiration, and feeling, we can be feeling victimized by life, by somebody in particular, or betrayed by life, by God. And yet within this, there is the possibility of also being inspired. With all of these planets in the metaphysical, meditative, spiritual sign of Pisces, we do have the opportunity to find some area in which we can release ourselves to some true quality, transcendent quality. It's finding where that is, and where that is in a safe way, and not having to have it either fit completely or totally reject the rules that we find so burdensome and so foreign to what feels real right now. For everyone, this is a really demanding period of time, one that can feel deeply confusing and and emotional, whether that can slide back and forth between being euphoric and being panicky, hysterical, just hysterical either way, and also, difficult emotions like grief or sadness can sort of spring up out of nowhere. This is especially true for the mutable signs, which would be Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces, and especially if your birthday is in the middle of the sign, which of course for Pisces would be right around now. And for Virgos, Sagittarius, or Geminis would be right around the middle of that sign. But regardless of when you were born, everybody has to deal with it, no matter when your birthday is. And in fact, if you were born in the 50s, you're dealing with your second Saturn return right now, especially in the second half of the 50s. And then you're really getting You're getting a lot. That would also be true for those born. I'd have to do the math, but if you're like 28, 29 right now and you're dealing with your first Saturn return, similarly, it's going to be really difficult to get a grip on just what's going on and what sense you're supposed to be making out of any of this. Just bear with it. It gets easier. It always does. And recognize that as much as it feels right now that like what you're experiencing, it has some sort of, transcendent, speaks to some sort of transcendent reality about what can and can't be trusted and isn't true, that's not necessarily the case. That there's a tendency to jump to exaggerated conclusions and to want to throw out all kinds of babies with any kind of bathwater, and maybe just try to hold on a little bit longer and find your own path through this period of time without having to have it be one extreme or the other. All right, I'll tell you more later. Buckle your seatbelts because it is going to be a bumpy ride, and try to enjoy the show because there's going to be a whole lot of show out there. All right, talk to you soon, and in this period of time as well, given that it's Shivaratri, you might as well hope that it all gets recycled into something usable. Talk to you soon. Bye.